Reddit is the internet's wildest group chat. Part think tank, part therapy session, part dumpster fire. It's where you'll find genuine life advice, sandwiched between a guy confessing he owns a poop knife and another pretending he's never heard of a potato. For better or worse, Reddit has produced some of the most unhinged, hilarious, and strangely iconic stories ever typed by anonymous strangers. So, today we're digging into 10 of the most legendary text posts to ever hit the front page. No memes, no clickbait, just raw, unfiltered Reddit in all its degenerate glory. Let's get into it.
Number 10.
Time I fucked up by picking up a hitchhiker and then showing up to my own funeral. This happened a few years ago, and I was living in Zimbabwe at the time, and I was having a pretty bad day, and I was going to see my auntie who lived about 400 kilometers away from me. If you're African, you'll understand that this was no small journey. So I got my car and set off, and about 3 hours into the journey, I came across a dude by the side of the road who was going in the same direction. So out of the goodness of my heart, I said jump in. And we go to talking, and he happened to be going to the exact same village as me, and he knew my auntie. Half an hour passes, and we're making polite chit-chat and reminiscing about old times in Zimbabwe, when all of a sudden, he tells me to pull over, so I do. He runs out of the car and starts making retching noises, so I assume he's throwing up. It's dark at this point, so I can't really see much, so I go check on him. First mistake. I get out and go to his side expecting him to be there, but he's not. Then I hear someone behind me, and before I know it, I'm unconscious. So I wake up a couple hours later, I know this because the sun was coming up at this point, without my car, clothes, or wallet. So I'm thinking, great. I look around and see I'm on some farmland wearing the guy's clothes. So I start walking in no particular direction and eventually come across a settlement. I explain to them my situation, and they tell me that the nearest main road is at least a good half a day's walk from where I am, and they don't get many cars coming through this part, but they heard one last night, which might be our thief. I start walking in the direction they point me in, and after what felt like forever, I come across a road, so I pitch up and start waiting. Now, I know most of you are thinking, why not call someone? I had no phone with me, and I don't have the best memory, so I didn't know any numbers that would come in handy. After a couple of hours, a car stops and lets me hitch. I let him know the situation, and he says we're in the complete opposite direction of my intended destination, but he's willing to drop me close enough to walk the rest of the way, to which I thought, great. It takes a good 2 days to get there, and he drops me off, and I say my goodbyes to my driver. I take down his number so I can repay him later on. At this point, I'm starting to recognize my surroundings. I walk for a few miles, and as I'm getting closer to my auntie's, I can hear a lot of singing and what appears to be a large crowd, which I thought was strange. I'm about 100 feet from the house, and I see my son, which again I thought was strange because he was meant to be in school at this time. But instead of running to me and hugging me as he normally does, he runs away screaming, to my complete bewilderment. I get to the gate, and all of a sudden this large crowd, alerted by my son's scream, has stopped singing and has stood silent. My wife appears and starts to run towards me, hugging and kissing me like I've been gone for months. My auntie appears and immediately faints when she sees me. I still have no clue what's going on at this point, and I'm exhausted. So we rush to get my auntie inside, and I see my picture on top of a large box that resembles a coffin sitting in the living room. So it turns out that the guy who robbed me and made off with my car, my wallet, and all my clothes was in a car crash so bad that they couldn't identify the body. And because the only things they could use to identify him was my wallet, they assumed it was me that had died in the crash, since there was no body of sorts. They could arrange the funeral pretty quickly. And that is what I had stumbled upon. My son still has nightmares to this day, and my wife has told me never to pick up a hitchhiker ever again. TLDR, got carjacked, robber died, and family thought it was me. They arranged my funeral, and I somehow managed to stumble upon my own funeral. This post was from 2015 and had 45,000 upvotes. The top comment was, imagine though, this guy said he knew your aunt, then he managed to get you away from the car and left you on the road? What if he was from the future, sent to save you from that car crash? Now let's talk logistics. And fair warning, this might ruin some movie scenes for you. If someone gets knocked out for more than a minute, it's not a nap. It's a serious brain injury, like call an ambulance level bad. So for this guy to be unconscious for hours and then just get up and start walking, unless he was drugged, that's not survival, that's fiction. And how is the turnaround time for planning a whole funeral that quick? Like, come on. This story reads less like real life and more like a rejected script for Fast and Furious Zimbabwe drift. It's entertaining, sure, but if you believe every detail here, I've got a slightly used poop knife to sell you. Anyways, let's go to
Number 9.
the story of Kevin, the world's dumbest student. It's not uncommon, as a teacher, to have students who are a bit behind the curve in certain aspects. But 99.99999% of the time, they are keen on something. They might not understand how to identify a noun or what theme is, but they somehow know how to make a mean plate of nachos. You learn pretty quick to not judge fish for their tree climbing ability, you know? I thought this was the rule when I was teaching, until I met Kevin. Kevin isn't his real name, but it doesn't matter, because he can't spell it anyway. Kevin was a student of mine during my last year of teaching. He came to my classroom with very little to show for his academic past. He had moved a few times and thus was missing a lot of typical test scores that we use to try and ballpark their ability. Don't worry, it was a ballpark. We didn't make major decisions until we actually had a chance to talk and work with the student for a bit. I thought, that's fine. I'll just do some one-on-one with Kevin and see what's up. One-on-one with Kevin was like conversing with someone who'd forgotten everything in a freak, if not impossible, amnesia incident. There was no evidence that he had learned anything past the 2nd grade. And now he was in 9th grade. Flabbergasted, I figured we needed to get more serious with this. If he was going to be in my class, I needed to know why and how. I decided to meet with him, his guidance counselor, his parents, and another teacher to see what was really going on. This is where it all became clear. It was by some incredible fluke that his family hadn't been wiped off the face of the earth years ago. Odds are, his entire heritage was based on blind luck and some type of sick, divine intervention that saves his family every time a threat presents itself. Kevin was the genetic pinnacle of this null achievement. Even my instructional lead, a woman who could find a redeeming trait in a Balrog, failed to see any reason this kid or his family should be alive today. So, here's a list of events that made it abundantly clear that God exists, and he's laughing uncontrollably. Kevin frequently forgot when/where class was. On more than one occasion, I had to retrieve him from other classrooms. Kevin ate an entire 24-pack of crayons, puked, and then did it again the next day. This is 9th grade? I have no idea where he got crayons. Kevin's dad wrote tuition checks and mailed them to me, his English teacher. This was a public school. When I gave it back to Kevin, voided, to give to his dad with a brief note explaining that this is a public school, Kevin got in trouble for trying to spend it at 7-Eleven after school. Kevin was removed from the culinary arts program after leaving a cutting board on the gas stove and starting a fire. Twice, Kevin threw his lunch at the school resource officer and tried to run away. He ran into a door and insisted it wasn't him. Kevin stole my phone during class. I called it. It rang. He denied that it was ringing. Not that it wasn't his, not that he did it. No, he denied that the phone was actually ringing. He tried it 3 times before the end of the year. Kevin called the basketball coach a motherfucking bitch during gym. Basketball tryouts were that afternoon. Kevin tried out. It didn't go well. Kevin's mom could never remember which school he went to. She missed several meetings because she drove to other schools, none of which he ever went to. Kevin tased himself in the neck before a football game. Kevin kept a bottle of orange Kool-Aid in his backpack for about 4 months. He thought it would turn into alcohol. He drank it during homeroom and threw up. Kevin said the N-word a lot. Kevin was white. The high school was 84% black. Kevin got beat up a lot. Kevin stole another student's iPhone, ... and tried to sell it back to them. Kevin didn't understand that his grade was dependent on tests, quizzes, homework, classwork, and participation. Kevin finished his first semester with a 3% average. He tried to bribe me with $11. Kevin spit on a girl and said, "You should get out of those wet clothes." The girl was the Spanish student teacher. Kevin didn't know dogs and cats were different animals. Kevin tried to download porn onto a computer in the library, ... at the circulation desk. while he was logged on, Kevin asked a girl to prom. He was in 9th grade, and freshmen don't go to prom, by asking for her phone number and then texting her his address. Kevin got gum in his hair. Constantly. Kevin regularly tried to cheat on assignments by knocking the pile over, grabbing one before I had picked them all up, and then writing his name on it wherever there was room. Kevin had several allergies, but neither his parents nor he could remember what they were. They were very concerned that the holiday party, it's high school, we don't have those, would have peanuts. When they finally got a doctor's note, he was allergic to amoxicillin. Kevin and his parents took a trip to Nassau. How the fuck did they even get airline tickets? And forgot all their luggage at home. I didn't believe him when he told me until I talked to his mom, who told me first thing when I saw her at the bi-weekly meeting. Kevin's grandfather apparently died in a chainsaw accident. I can only assume God was looking the other way that day. This was a comment under the Ask Reddit thread, "Who is the dumbest person you have ever met?" And it received 18,000 upvotes. I'm torn between "this can't be real" and "you can't make this shit up." Kevin feels like a parody of a student, but somehow every teacher in the comments was like, "Yeah, I've had one of these." He's not just a person, Kevin is a phenomenon, and now he's a legend.
Number 8.
Time I fucked up by pretending not to know what a potato is. Let me tell you that I have made a bad mistake this evening. My girlfriend, who, let me tell you, is only my second girlfriend of all time, said I am invited to dinner with her and her parents. I was very aghast, nervous, and bashful to be invited to such a situation, but I knew it must be done. I met them nicely, I should tell you, and it started off in a good way. The idea slapped my mind that I should do a comic bit to make a good impression and become known to them as a person who is amusing. When I saw the baked potatoes were served, I got the idea that it would be very good if I pretended I did not know what potatoes was. That would be funny. Well, let me tell you, backfired on my face. I'll tell you how. So first, when the potato became on my plate, I acted very interesting. I showed an expression on my face so as to seem that I was confused, astounded, but in a restrained way, curious and interested. They did notice and seemed confused but did not remark, so I asked, "This looks very interesting. What is this?" They stared at me and the mother said, "It's a baked potato." And I was saying, "Oh, interesting. A baked, what is it again?" And she was like, "A potato." And I was like, "A potato? Oh, interesting. Never heard of a potato. Looks pretty good." And then they didn't see I was clowning, but thought I really did not know what is a potato. So I knew I would be very shamed, humiliated, depressed, and disgusted if I admitted to making a bad joke. So what I did was to act as if it was not a joke, but I committed to the act of pretending I didn't know what a potato is. They asked me, very incredulous, did I really not know what a potato is? That I never heard of a potato? I went with it and told them, yes, I did not ever even hear of a potato. Not only had I never eaten a potato, I had never heard the word potato. This went on for a bit, and my girlfriend was acting very confused and embarrassed by my fucked up antics. And then the more insistent I was about not knowing what a potato is was when them parents started thinking I did know what a potato was. Well, let me tell you, I had to commit 100% at this point. When I would not admit to knowing what a potato was, the father especially began to get annoyed. At one point he said something like, "Enough is enough, you're fucking with us, admit it." And I said, "Sir, before today, I never heard of a potato. I still don't know what a potato is, other than some kind of food. I don't know what to tell you." Well, let me tell you, he got very annoyed. I decided to take a bite of the potato, and when I did, I made a high-pitched noise and said, "Tastes very strange." That is when the father started yelling at me, and the mother kept saying, "What are you doing?" And my girlfriend went to some other room. Finally, the father said I should get the fuck out of his house, and I said it was irrational to treat me like this just because I never heard of a potato before. Well, let me tell you, he didn't take that kindly. Now, in text messages, I have been telling my girlfriend I really don't know what a potato is. The only way I can ever get out of this is for them to buy that I don't know what a potato is. I wish I never started it, but I can't go back. I think she will break up with me anyway. This post was from 2014 and had 51,000 upvotes. I think one of the most popular comments on this thread puts it well when they say, "You need to commit 100% to this now. Invent a religion, perhaps an obscure offshoot of Roman Catholicism formed after the Irish potato famine, that eschews potatoes in all their forms. Create a Wikipedia page. Find a passage in the Bible that supports it. literal interpretation of beasts of the field perhaps. Maybe claim beasts is close to the old Irish word for potatoes. You are going to have to get creative. Reveal all of this to the GF's family as though you just found out yourself. Tell them you went home and asked your parents about it, and they sat you down and told you that they were part of this religion and had raised you in observance of its tenets. You can then roll your eyes and act like your parents are the weirdest, most embarrassing people on earth for putting you in this situation. Oh, and they told you french fries were made from bread because it was the one indulgence they allowed. Never let your parents and her parents meet unless they have been briefed and can be trusted to dive on any grenades.
Number 7.
At number 7, we have a different type of post. This is the most downvoted post of all time. It was in response to the comment, "Seriously? I paid $80 to have Vader locked?" EA community team then replied with, "The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per-player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course, attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon and as often as we can." Yeah, Reddit didn't like that one. It resulted in 668,000 downvotes. It became infamous as a textbook example of corporate tone deafness. The backlash was so intense that it sparked international news coverage and forced EA to revamp the game's economy. A testament to the mighty power of united Redditors.
Number 6.
Time I fucked up by trying to throw my steak out the window. Last night, my wife's boss from her brand new job invited us over for dinner. On the drive over, my wife reiterated many times to me just how important it was to make a good impression. I scoffed and arrogantly informed my silly wife that I always make good impressions. My wife's boss is a single lady in her 50s, so it was just the three of us. We chit-chatted over drinks and salads and seemed to really be hitting it off. She laughed at my well-timed, perfectly appropriate jokes, and my wife seemed pleased. Soon, she brought out the main course, a nice big juicy steak for each of us. As I began to cut into my steak, I was discouraged to discover how undercooked this steak was. Now, I've had my fair share of rare steak. I prefer medium, but I can handle rare. This was several minutes on a hot grill short of rare. I probably could have resuscitated the cow had I tried. Instead, I sat there fidgeting with my knife and fork, worrying about how I was going to get away with not eating this steak. Claim veganism? No, I'd already feigned great enthusiasm upon seeing the steak. Just then, our hostess excused herself to the kitchen to take care of some dessert preparations. As I looked across the fancy dining room table at the open window of this third-story apartment, a cartoon light bulb appeared over my head. I knew I had to be decisive, realizing that she could return at any moment. I committed. I grabbed the steak with my hand, gently shook off the juice, and executed a perfect throw right through the center of the open window. Here's the big-time FU. The window wasn't open. It was the cleanest frickin' window you've ever seen in your life. That is, until my mostly raw slab of steak slammed up against it and slowly slid down, leaving a trail of bloody juice in its wake. My wife, whose steak was a nice medium rare and was unaware of my predicament, turned, jaw dropped, and stared at me like I was an alien from another planet. This look then slowly morphed into more of a "there is no place on this planet you can ever hide from me" expression of demonic anger. My wife's boss heard the thud of the steak on window impact and came quickly. She took in the scene, the steak sitting on the windowsill, the blood trail, my empty plate, and then gave me an inquisitive, puzzled look. I just didn't know what to say. It felt like a minute of silence, but was probably 3 or 4 seconds. Finally, the best I could manage was, I'm so sorry. I am such a klutz. I don't know. I was just cutting it, and it slipped. Just ask my wife. I really am a klutz, right, honey? No help coming from that direction. I will clean this up. I can't believe this. I am so sorry, etc., etc. Both women continued to stare at me like I had escaped from the loony bin as I smeared the blood around the window with my cloth napkin, dusted off the steak, and continued to mutter my incoherent explanation. I knew no one was buying the story. I knew what I had to do. I sheepishly returned to my seat and proceeded to eat every bite of that disgusting, cold, chewy, bloody, raw steak. I remained pretty quiet the rest of the evening. My wife's only 2 words to me since the incident are, "I'm fine." TLDR. Tried to sneakily throw my undercooked steak through an open window, only to find out it wasn't open. This post was from 10 years ago with a lovely 36,000 upvotes. The top comment was, "This would make a great Windex commercial." His wife actually posted her POV a couple years later, which I will link in the comments, along with the other Reddit posts if anyone wants to read more.
Number 5.
This one is titled, "Today You, Tomorrow Me." Just about every time I see someone, I stop. I kind of got out of the habit in the last couple of years, moved to a big city and all that. My girlfriend wasn't too stoked on the practice. Then some shit happened to me that changed me, and I am back to offering rides habitually. If you would indulge me, it is a long story and has almost nothing to do with hitchhiking other than happening on a road. This past year, I have had 3 instances of car trouble. A blowout on a freeway, a bunch of blown fuses, and an out-of-gas situation. All of them were while driving other people's cars, which for some reason makes it worse on an emotional level. It makes it worse on a practical level as well, what with the fact that I carry things like a jack and extra fuses in my car and know enough not to park facing downhill on a steep incline with less than a gallon of fuel. Anyway, each of these times this shit happened, I was disgusted with how people would not bother to help me. I spent hours on the side of the freeway waiting, watching roadside assistance vehicles blow past me, for AAA to show. The 4 gas stations I asked for a gas can at told me that they couldn't loan them out for my safety, but I could buy a really shitty 1-gallon one with no cap for $15. It was enough each time to make you say shit like, "This country is going to hell in a handbasket." But you know who came to my rescue all 3 times? Immigrants. Mexican immigrants. None of them spoke a lick of the language, but one of those dudes had a profound effect on me. He was the guy that stopped to help me with a blowout with his whole family of 6 in tow. I was on the side of the road for close to 4 hours. Big Jeep, blown rear tire, had a spare but no jack. I had signs in the windows of the car, big signs that said "Need a jack" and offered money. No dice. Right as I'm about to give up and just hitch out there, a van pulls over and a dude bounds out. He sizes the situation up and calls for his youngest daughter, who speaks English. He conveys through her that he has a jack, but it is too small for the Jeep, so we will need to brace it. He produces a saw from the van and cuts a log out of a downed tree on the side of the road. We rolled it over, put his jack on top, and bam, in business. I start taking the wheel off, and if you can believe it, I broke his tire iron. It was one of those collapsible ones, and I wasn't careful, and I snapped the head I needed clean off. Fuck. No worries. He runs to the van, gives it to his wife, and she is gone in a flash down the road to buy a tire iron. She's back in 15 minutes. We finish the job with a little sweat and cussing. Stupid log was starting to give. And I am a very happy man. We are both filthy and sweaty. The wife produces a large water jug for us to wash our hands in. I tried to put a 20 in the man's hand, but he wouldn't take it, so I instead gave it to his wife as quietly as I could. I thanked them up one side and down the other. I asked the little girl where they lived, thinking maybe I could send them a gift for being so awesome. She says they live in Mexico. They are here so mommy and daddy can pick peaches for the next few weeks. After that, they are going to pick cherries, then go back home. She asks if I have had lunch, and when I told her no, she gave me a tamale from their cooler. The best fucking tamale I have ever had. So, to clarify, a family that is undoubtedly poorer than you, me, and just about everyone else on that stretch of road, working on a seasonal basis where time is money, took an hour or 2 out of their day to help some strange dude on the side of the road when people in tow trucks were just passing me by. Wow. But we aren't done yet. I thank them again and walk back to my car and open the foil on the tamale because I am starving at this point. And what do I find inside? my fucking $20 bill. I whirl around and run up to the van, and the guy rolls his window down. He sees the $20 in my hand and just shaking his head, no, like he won't take it. All I can think to say is, por favor, por favor, por favor, with my hands out. Dude just smiles, shakes his head, and with what looked like great concentration, tried his hardest to speak to me in English. Today, you, tomorrow, me. Rolled up his window, drove away, his daughter waving to me in the rear view. I sat in my car eating the best fucking tamale of all time, and I just cried. Like a little girl. It has been a rough year, and nothing has broke my way. This was so out of left field, I just couldn't deal. In the 5 months since I have changed a couple of tires, given a few rides to gas stations, and once went 50 miles out of my way to get a girl to an airport, I won't accept money. Every time I tell them the same thing when we are through. Today you, tomorrow me. TLDR. Long rambling story about how the kindness of strangers, particularly folks from south of the border, forced me to be more helpful on the road and in life in general. I am sure it won't be as meaningful to anyone else, but it was seriously the highlight of my 2010. This one hits different. Amid all the chaos and jokes, the story is a quiet reminder of what decency looks like. A stranger stops to help, asks for nothing in return, and leaves the storyteller with just 4 words. Today you, tomorrow me. Simple, profound, human. It's not just heartwarming, it's a much-needed reminder that kindness has no borders, and that people, no matter where they're from, deserve respect, not suspicion.
Number 4.
This story began as a seemingly creepy mystery and ended with a life-saving twist, titled Post-it Notes Left in Apartment on subreddit r/legal advice. On the 15th of April, I found a yellow post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk, reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about. While odd, I chalked it up to something I did in my sleep, thinking maybe in my half-awake state I scrawled it so it didn't appear to be my handwriting. I threw it out and thought little of it. On the 19th, I found another post-it note on the back of my desk chair in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling me to make sure I saved my documents. I was freaked out, but there were no other signs of a break-in, so I set up a webcam in my house aimed at my desk and used a security cam app for it to record after detecting movement. On the 28th, I woke up to find another post-it note, this one saying, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." I immediately checked the webcam's folder on my computer and found nothing from the night before, but my computer's recycling bin had been emptied, which I am certain I did not do recently, indicating someone had noticed the webcam and deleted the files. They were just saved straight to a folder on my desktop called Webcam. Today, on the 1st of May, I found another post-it note, this time on the outside of my door with nothing written on it. And there also appeared to be post-its on many other doors in my apartment complex, all blank in varying colors. Do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for the post-its, but those are written by my pen and on my post-it notes, so conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me into any trouble if they can't determine an outside source for this? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time. Should I consult my landlord? Those also living in the complex? Under this post, one commenter asked whether the OP had a carbon monoxide detector, noting that CO gas can cause confusion and memory issues. The OP updated shortly after. Upon plugging in a detector, it alarmed. Their apartment had a carbon monoxide leak. In OP's own chilling conclusion, TLDR, I had CO poisoning and thought my landlord was stalking me. All the bizarre notes were in fact written by the disoriented OP, not an intruder. The tale showcased Reddit at its best. The community literally saved someone's life by crowdsourcing an explanation. The dramatic reveal, a silent killer gas causing the scare, gave this post legendary status as a Today I Learned meets Twilight Zone moment.
Number 3.
This next one is a comment under a post from 2016. You can have sex with one real person from all of human history. Who is your ultimate lay? One commenter said, I'd like to have sex one more time with my wife, who passed away from cancer 9 years ago. My body yearns for hers. The ultimate downside to finding the one is she may die young and leave you wanting. Unfortunately, this touching and somber response was about to be on the wrong side of an all-time one-liner. User Something Obscure replied, I also choose this guy's dead wife. This blew up as it received 28,000 upvotes. A cold-blooded classic that lives on to this day.
Number 2.
At number 2, we're gonna mix it up. This post is called, What's the Dumbest Thing You Actually Believed? Now let's rapid fire some of the best comments. As a kid, my sister told me that we had an older brother that died. She said he died when playing bowling, and his fingers didn't come out the ball and slid all the way down the alley. Then he turned into a Skittle. I used to think that people exclusively wore hats if they were bald, because that's why my dad wore a hat. That reindeer wasn't an actual animal, but specifically a mythical animal that Santa Claus used. I believed this until I was 23 or so when I saw some nature documentary talking about reindeer. I was like, what? More so naive and innocent rather than dumb, but still funny. My dad used to tell us kids that a dwarf/little person worked in and operated every car park barrier in the world. Every time he drove up to one, he'd press the button for the ticket and say, cheers, mate, how's the wife? And fake a conversation as he waited for the barrier to open, lol. I was convinced that Greeks still worshipped Zeus and other gods for a while after I heard the word Greek Orthodox Church as a kid. When I was a kid, I used to think professional wrestling was real, and The Undertaker scared the living shit out of me during his whole Ministry of Darkness phase. I thought he actually was Satan's minister or something. Like, yeah, he's an undead overlord of hell here to bring an eternity of darkness and misery to this planet, but he also has to make a weekly television appearance to win a wrestling competition, and you can buy his action figure at Toys R Us. That the Great Wall of China had a cat adoption program. I was meeting my friend's boyfriend for the first time, and he mentioned that he had just adopted one of the retired Great Wall of China cats. China trains these cats to patrol the wall and kill vermin, and at the end of their 7-year stint, they are retired and adopted out to a forever home. I kept asking questions about it. How do you apply? Are they a specific breed? How do they get transported worldwide? In the end, he told me that he made the whole thing up because my friend had told him I was really gullible and wanted to see how far he could push it, but he didn't think I'd get so enthused. The worst part? I was in my mid-20s at the time. When I was little, I genuinely believed the Teletubbies were evil, and that if I didn't watch them on TV every night, even though I hated the show, that they would come and get me. To be fair though, they're kinda creepy. When I was 6, I watched a movie, King Kong, and a scene with a bunch of black folks emerging from the mud appeared, and I got a bit spooked by it. A bit later, I was at McDonald's with my parents, and I saw a black family walk in. Thank God my parents are deaf, or I would have asked out loud, why are the mud people here? Mom thought I was racist, but I was just a bit inexperienced, lol.
Number 1.
At number 1, we've saved the best for last. I was 22 years old when I learned that not every family has a poop knife. My family poops big. Maybe it's genetic, maybe it's our diet, but everyone births giant logs of crap. If anyone has laid a mega poop, you know that sometimes it won't flush. It lays across the hole in the bottom of the bowl, and the vortex of draining water merely gives it a spin as it mocks you. Growing up, this was a common enough occurrence that our family had a poop knife. It was an old rusty kitchen knife that hung on a nail in the laundry room, only to be used for that purpose. It was normal to walk through the hallway and have someone call out, "Hey, can you get me the poop knife?" I thought it was standard kit. You have your plunger, your toilet brush, and your poop knife. Fast forward to 22. It's been a day or two between poops, and I'm over at my friend's house. My friend was the local dealer and always had guests over because you can't buy weed without sitting on your ass and sampling it for an hour. I excuse myself and lay a gigantic turd. I look down and see that it's a sideways one, so I crack the door and call out for my friend. He arrives and I ask him for his poop knife. My what? Your poop knife, I say. I need to use it. Please. What the fuck is a poop knife? Obviously he has one, but maybe he calls it by a more delicate name, a fecal cleaver, a dung divider, a guano glaive. I explain what it is I want and why I want it. He starts giggling, then laughing, then lots of people start laughing. It turns out the music stopped and everyone heard my pleas through the door. It also turns out that none of them had poop knives, It was just my fucked up family with their fucked up bowels, FML. I told this to my wife last night, who was amused and horrified at the same time. It turns out that she did not know what a poop knife was and had been using the old rusty knife hanging in the utility closet as a basic utility knife. Thankfully, she didn't cook with it, but used it to open Amazon boxes. She will be getting her own utility knife now.
There it is, the most legendary Reddit story. One that sticks with you forever, whether you like it or not. If you would like to read into any of the posts mentioned, I'll leave a link in the description below. What do you think about our list? Any iconic posts we missed? Comment and let us know. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe for future content. Bye for now.